This is a presentation for ACTRI members about using social media and Twitter in specific. In the description for the video below, I will link to all of the different resources that I've provided here in the presentation. Briefly, my name is Melissa Miller. I'm the ACTRI Communications Officer. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you have any questions about anything in this presentation or about social media use in general. If you have anything to add to the ACTRI newsletter or website, you can also get in touch with me. Briefly about the ACTRI social media pages. We have Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And these are the links. I will also include them in the notes for this video. Please tag ACTRI in your profile or list it as your workplace if you have these accounts. That helps broaden our reach, and that way you'll see ACTRI content that you can then share. We share job openings, funding opportunities, events, news, and also other content from UCSD accounts, usually the UCSD Health or associated accounts like that. Twitter is widely used by physicians and other people in the medical field to share public health messages and to build trust in the medical profession, as well as amplifying those voices of diverse medical professionals. Putting together a social media plan is a good idea for Twitter, especially. Think about what you want to use Twitter for and who you're planning to connect with and what kind of material you're planning to share. Generally for UCSD, we want to make sure that we're educating, connecting, and learning on social media. So think a bit about how your message will fit in to those goals. There's also a link here to the social media guide from UC San Diego Health. So in terms of educating, you can provide credible information, share your research and the research in your field, as well as share topics that matter to you and broaden the reach of those journal articles and colleagues. It's a great way to connect with those colleagues and celebrate achievements together, as well as if patients start to follow you. And also outlets from the media will sometimes follow those accounts. And, the UCSD Health can get a lot of benefit by sharing those resources. Learning is another part of social media. Getting feedback from patients, reading articles you otherwise might not have come across, and finding out about events and other trending topics. So setting up your social media account, your Twitter profile has a lot of components to it and should be relatively in line with the UCSD practices. So step one, you'll want to create a username. You use your own name or some sort of variation. Don't put any other personal information in there like a birth date or year or anything like that. And don't use UCSD as part of your username. That doesn't mean you can't tag the UCSD accounts. That's the next part here in your bio, putting your professional association with UCSD, with ACTRI, tagging those accounts and adding a location. And you can put a link here to your lab website or your find a provider bio. And you want to add the disclaimer that the views are your own. And included a professional photo. So here are some examples of those Twitter bios. And then you'll want to make connections. So who you follow will often encourage those people to follow you, and you can grow your network from there. So first up, following the UCSD accounts, ACTRI, the School of Medicine, the Health Department, and other professional connections. You can look at this UCSD Twitter list that the UCSD Health puts together. I'll link to that in the profile as well. And also just, friends, family, professional colleagues. Following most medical journals have their own Twitter accounts, and organizations, health organizations as well. And that way you'll see that content and will be curated in your feed that way. And then in order to attract followers of your own, the number one way to do that is to follow accounts and interact with them, like and share their posts, comment. And then that usually creates a relationship, and often they'll follow you back. And getting that follow back on your personal account rather than a main UCSD account is a great way to grow your brand and build trust in the institution. And then, yeah, join the conversation, get involved, share your content, share other accounts' content to broaden the reach. You can like and comment on other people's tweets. You can retweet. This graphic here shows the different buttons for doing those things. And also you can share it on other platforms using that link to share. You can then post to things on LinkedIn or share them in an email or something that way. Sorting out what's a hashtag and when to use the @ symbol is an important part of this. The hashtag is a topic, starting a conversation, having something, people will search for a hashtag, and then it will bring up every tweet that has that hashtag in it. And whereas the @ symbol is someone's username. So if you want to tag a specific person or a journal or something like that has a Twitter account, you use that @ symbol and then the username. And that does alert them that you've mentioned them. And sometimes that's a great way to get other institutions or other people to share the content that you post, is if you @ them. You want to make sure you're posting consistent and high quality content, things that you can vouch for, links to your research, other published research, press releases, videos, any of that sort of outreach that comes about UCSD health, and finding those trending topics and contributing to those popular hashtags and things like that is a great way to get noticed. In order to find content to share, your Twitter feed is a great place for that. You can then retweet and share posts from colleagues or our posts here at ACTRI, UC San Diego Health, or the School of Medicine. The journals that you decide to follow are reputable news outlets. You can also check out ACTRI's website, where we post news and events, and blog articles will be coming soon to ACTRI's site, and there are already some on the health sciences site. I will put all of these links in the profile for this video. The press releases are at the UC San Diego Health newsroom link, and lots more other content on the UCSD websites. Here's an example of a great Twitter post. It uses a hashtag. It also identifies an accounts with an @ symbol, and you've shared reputable information, including citing sources and all of that. So this is just a great example. And if you're going to retweet, there are a lot of online publications that will link you straight to that. Just look for the little Twitter bird symbol on websites, and that will open up usually your account if you're logged in, with a tweet already drafted with a link to that article. So that's something you can find. This example here, Dr. Chris Longhurst shared an article after reading it on the Associated Press, doing tagging UC San Diego Health as well as other sources. Some best practices here in terms of representing UCSD on social media. You want to make sure you're a credible source of information, have a high standard for what you share and what you post, and obviously following the same patient privacy guidelines in person that you would follow. It's online, and even if you have a smaller reach, it's something that will get amplified, and you want to make sure that you're following those guidelines. It will take some time to grow a following on Twitter. The best way to do that is to regularly post engaging content, making sure you're doing it on a regular basis, making sure it's always from a great source, and also interacting with other accounts. So people will see what you like and what you comment on, and in turn follow you. Some best practices just for social media from UC San Diego Health include making sure you have views are your own, retweets don't necessarily equal endorsement, obviously the patient and copyright restrictions, and then making sure there's no endorsement or anything that could be interpreted that way for political candidates, for companies, products, anything like that. And you want to make sure just use common sense, and you can always get in touch with me or with the UC San Diego Health if you have further questions. As far as UC San Diego official accounts, for the clinical, there's not doing any more sponsored ones. That's why we're encouraging people to set up their own personal accounts and just associate your workplace as UCSD. For divisions and centers and departments, for the clinical side, there's no more of those will be authorized. For research and education, labs and institutes, things like that, there are specific guidelines, and I'll make sure to link to that as well. So again, here's my contact information. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions about this presentation or how to get started on social media and on Twitter in specific. I'd be happy to answer that and help guide you through the process. Thanks so much.